What's going on, guys? So in today's video, we're going to work on the lowrider again. And what we're going to do is we're going to put on a Mustache bar for the crash bar. And then we're also going to upgrade the turn signal light mount bar to a different model that has to go up there because we're going to be removing the current bar that mounts the turn signals on there because we're putting that crash bar in. So basically, I've got the Harley crash bar that comes in a box, all wrapped up nice. You can see has the pad up here on the bottom, the mounts down the side, everything comes wrapped up in real nicely so it's well protected when you get it. And then the additional brackets we need are these HD brackets that come into the one side. And there's one for each side that goes through. And what they do is they clamp on to the bottom around the crash bar like this and give you a mount for your turn signal light since we're removing that upper bar, and I'll show you that when we get inside of it. I will list the part numbers for each one of the products in there. You got the engine guard kit here, which is as far away I know, but I just want to show you it comes with it. And then you also have the brackets that come in here like so. And again, I'll put the part numbers in there down in the description so you guys know what they are. And then they also come with hardware and another bracket for the bottom. So hopefully it should go pretty easy. Everything's there. We just got to pop out some capped holes underneath the frame where I put the forward controls, and then we'll get everything turned around and get started. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, so the first thing we have to do in order to do this is we have to take the outer fairing off and the windscreen. That's so that we can get to the bolts that hold the turn signal lights to the bars on the inside, and then we'll take that off. So to take the inner fairing or the outer fairing off, there's 4 bolts here on this side, one here, one here, one here, one here, and then you have 6 outer windscreen bolts as well. So not taking one of these off yet, so this should be interesting. We'll learn together, but I'm going to start with the windshield. And these are a T27 Torx bit. Voila. So now I don't know if this is the same as it is on the road glides, but I can see that these top of these screws for the outer fairing are tying into this back area here, which is also where you would change that out if you put the sound system that Harley has for that. So just to be safe, I'm just going to put a couple screws back in these spots just in case that fairing wants to drop. I don't want that to happen. Okay, now before I pull those out and take those off, I'm going to put a towel over the front fender. Normally I use my Harley fender cover, but this is such a small fender. Just going to use a padded hand towel and tuck that all in there so in case something drops down on there, I don't have any damage. Additionally, the towel is less bulky than the fender cover, so I'm going to be working right there by that fender, so I want to make sure that I don't get anything in the way that stops me from getting that bar up and in. Okay, so I felt that flex, so it's a good thing I have those screws there. And then we also have 2 screws here. They're in the air deflectors on the back side, so we're going to take those out as well. All these are T27s. So now I'm going to take out these 2 screws, holding my fairing, of course. This has a rubber seal on it too. So just make sure that stays with it, or if it comes off that you know where it goes. All right. So I'm going to get to the front of the bike. Pull the front fairing off. I'm going to rest it on my covered fender, and we're going to disconnect the headlight and then pull it off. And there is your lowrider ST fairing removed. Okay, now that we got that off, now we can see, looks to be 7/16, I'll check in a second, but we can see the bolt head on the side of the inner fairing now that screws into that bracket that goes underneath the bottom that holds your turn signals on it, that these are going to replace. So one will go into this screw here, which will attach the light to the inner fairing, right? That'll go in there. And then the other one will go in here, which will attach the light fixture to this bracket. So this is going to become your light fixture, and then this little U shape will go down around your new crash bar, right? And so then this all becomes the one. So if you ever have to take it off again and you don't want to take off the turn signals, you can just unscrew the inner fairing side and leave that all mounted to the crash bar. All right, so now that we get that all ready to go, I'm gonna go ahead and lift the bike up so I have my working space all right here in front of me. It's the beauty of having a lift, right? And then we'll probably have to take the tie downs off because they're attached to that bar that's holding it down. So it's a pretty sturdy lift. The Condor front wheel lock holds it pretty good, but we'll go ahead and get the bike lifted up into the area you wanna work on. All right, so as you guys can see, got the bike up, got it safety locked down, so nothing's gonna happen to it. You can see where I got these tied to it. This is a bar we're gonna be taking off, and here's where it attaches to the lights. So all this will come out. There's the bolt right there that we're gonna need to take out. And yeah, it's gonna be probably a 7/16. We're gonna take that out, that'll loosen this up, and then we'll take these two bolts out and drop that bar off. There's two bolts in the back, which I'll get a better look in the camera. I'll switch around the other side, but there's two bolts back here that we're gonna have to take this little, looks like the horn assembly off loose so that we can move it out of the way to get everything in. But here's the engine guard kit instructions. So you can see kind of what they look like there. And it's got the front and back side of it. And again, I'll put all this in the description so you guys have it. And then this is the instructions for the brackets that we're gonna put on that mount to the Mustache crash bar. So we'll have that in there too, so you guys have that. All right, cool. What you wanna also make sure is that you have blue Loctite on everything that you do. During my hog ride this weekend, one of my guys in my group was telling me a story about a bike that he was working on for one of his friends. Guy bought it used. They were trying to do forks and stuff like that. Everything on the bike had red Loctite on it. So they were busting bolts left and right. He was heating it up and it was a real big mess. So make sure you use the right thread locker when you guys do stuff. So just an interesting story that turned into a pain in the butt on a secondhand bike. All right, I'm gonna get some camera switched around, show a little better angle, and then we'll start taking this thing off. See you in a minute. Okay, so now we got the bike up and lifted. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off these restraining straps that hold on this bar, because that's where we're gonna start. You've got your light connections here. You've got the bolts that mount it here. Make sure you go on the other side, underneath your panel on the side. Take that off, and then pull the main fuse, because you're gonna be unplugging lights and you don't wanna throw some codes or something like that, or blow a fuse while you're doing this, even though it's just two lights. Good practice to do that. So I'll show a picture right here of where that fuse is, and then you can take that out. So now we're gonna take off these straps. All right, so now we got the straps off. You can see this holds the bike pretty well, so we don't have to worry about it falling over with the amount of work and torquing that we're gonna be doing on that. You could, if you wanted to, strap around the pedal here to do that. I just didn't do it because I don't want it to get in the way of me trying to move this stuff in and out. You could also strap it off the back on the frame or something like that if you want, but I think we'll be okay. All right, so the first thing we want to do is I'm going to go through and go ahead and disconnect these lights just so I don't forget to do it. And that way they're disconnected. When I try to pull off the bar, I don't have that happen. The next thing we got is you've got 2 bolts here and here that are a 1/4. So you can see they fit right there to take these off. You got to take those 2 out, which will separate this from the bar. I'm going to leave this 7/16 bolt for now because that kind of holds it up, and then I'll take it off after that. But we'll go ahead and get this taken out from that side. There's 1. 2. All right, so now you can see that loosens up that bar. So now what we're going to do is take an extension and a 7/16 socket to get us away from the bike, and we're going to loosen up this side of the bar. Take that side out, comes with the washer with it. And we'll go on the other side. Same thing on this side. 7/16, we're gonna hang on to it. Okay, there's that one. And just ease this down and get it off. So there's a connection. You can see where it screws in here, light goes through, and the other bracket will be there. So we'll take those off in a minute. Okay, the next thing we got to do is you can do, depending on what your flavor of fantasy is, you can take out these 2 here, which are 8mm hex bits, or you can take out the 3/8 bolt up here for the horn assembly so you can get those 9/16 bolts on top. Both have to come out to get this bracket out, and this is where the new one is going to bolt into, so those clearly have to come out, right? So me personally, I think I'm going to start with the top for the horn and get the nasty ones out of the way. So we'll go up here, get on this guy, this 3/8, and move this horn assembly out of the way. You can't get a socket really in there because you got your brake lines coming back in front. And go a little long sucker right there. Now that lets us move this horn assembly out of the way to get to these 9/16 bolts here. So we're going to work on those next. Need a little extension. That's one. A little trickery. There's 2. All right, so now that we've got those out, I'm gonna leave that loose because I don't know if I need to get in here again or not. Now we're gonna work on taking those out. These bolts are the 8mm. And out comes that old bracket. Okay, so now we got everything off that needs to be. Now we can start to see where the new one is going to place. All right, so this is about how it's going to sit. And there's 2 holes down here in the frame that have plugs in them that I'll take a picture of and show you that the bottom half of this is going to bolt into with these little guys. Okay, now that we got this place where it needs to go, you're going to slide this thing up. There's a bolt that goes in the lower center hole and 2 little notches on the back of this bar. And then you've got these plugs you need to pull out down here, which this is what they look like. And if you just take a pair of needle nose pliers, you can get up underneath the edge of them and twist them out. Don't pull them out because it's a pain in the butt. They're threaded pretty wide. But you just twist them out and get them out, and that frees up the holes where this is going to mount in the bottom, okay? Okay, so once you get this positioned, now you've got to stick this bar up in this second hole right here. And then you take this bolt that goes through it and a nut that goes on the back, a 1/2 inch nut. It's kind of a pain in the butt, so what we're going to try to do is get it positioned, get the bolt in there to help hold the weight, and then that way we can start the bolts on the bottom for the bottom of the crash bar. Since I'm doing by myself, we're going to do that. So we got that started. I'm going to hold it, and then I'm going to try to start these bolts down here for the crash bar to hold it in place. Okay, I got one started. Now I got to try to get over to the other side. Just going to rest that right there. Hopefully it stays, and we'll do the same thing. All right, so now we got the bottom bolt started that's holding the weight of the crash bar. Again, if you got help, that's better, but I like to be challenging and do it myself because I figure that's what most of us are gonna do, right? Now I'm gonna take a T45 and I'm just gonna run those down in a little bit just to kind of help secure it a little bit, not too tight because I wanna be able to move it. And again, make sure you have your Loctite on it. So now that we have that, lift this guy up, get it started in there, just so it holds it. And I'm going to tighten this guy down. Just a good snug so it holds that in place. So now that's holding it. I could probably still move it if I needed to, but I want it to hold that bolt in place right there. And so now we got to get this 1/2 inch nut on there, which is pretty tight quarters, so it's going to be tricky. Beautiful. Okay, so we got that started. Like I said, that's a 1/2 inch wrench. So I got the 1/2 inch here. I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of that thing. Put some pressure on it. Awesome. Now we got that bolted down. That worked out pretty good. And now we'll go through and tighten up the T45s on the bottom. All right, so that's that. That's not going anywhere. It's on there nice and tight. You don't need the additional bracket because we're not putting a T-bar on there because this is all one piece, right? Just to finish out what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this horn mount back up so that we can get that back in place. So now that's back in place. We didn't forget that. That's on. And then now we'll begin working on these mounts for the light kits. Okay. All right, now that we got this all strapped back up, tightened down, I went ahead and put my tie downs back on the bar now since it helps secure the bike just so I feel a little bit better. Now what we're gonna work on is the light kit, right? So as you can see, you've got a T45 bolt right here that comes out. The wire goes through this slot right here, and it is side specific. So on this side, which is the right side of the bike, there's the screw hole that matches that, and then the slot where the light goes in, and then this mounts up behind here and connects up like this. So that'll go in that place like that. And then they give you a new screw and a nut to replace the 7/16 because there's no threaded plate back here on this one, right? So what I'm gonna do first is we're gonna take off this stuff on the light kit. Just gonna use that T45 and pull that out. So just take this little guy here, hold on to it with your thumb as you back it out. Pretty long little guy. And then pull this out, get your connector out. Notice I'm holding the light together because it's kind of wonky and loose, right? So this will just fall off and drop, which will be bad, right? So I've got that like that. So we got the left side out. Now we're going to take the right side out. This was the right side. So you can see cable hole and screw hole here, right? So we're going to match that up to the right side. So this is the right side cable hole. That's going to go in like that. It's going to mount there. I'm going to use the same screw. You just got to kind of play with your hands to get it all to line up. So you can use just the extension to get that lined up. Don't tighten it down real tight all the way because it doesn't move much. But you just want to get it kind of in there. And then once you're sure that's how it's going to sit, cable inside, light facing the right direction, gonna go right here. Then you can tighten that guy up. All right, now that we got that connected, it's nice and firm. We're gonna slide this up into place, get it lined up. Screw comes in from the back side. Just kind of hold it there. You can reuse the previous washer. And then you're going to use a 7/16 nut that goes right here to get that all set up and ready to go. And take the bottom piece, and these two provided bolts, which should also be a T27, I believe. These go up underneath here. All right, now you got those started. We can go ahead and snug this guy up. So that's not going nowhere. It's got Loctite on it. I'm gonna leave this loose until I get everything put back together, and then we'll tighten up the bottoms. I'm gonna go ahead and connect the turn signal light back again. And that's one side. Now we'll go over and do the other side. All right, now that we are on the other side, it's the same thing. This is where this is gonna go. It's gonna sit right there. Light's gonna attach there. It's gonna fit in just the same way the other one did. So, take your light, you can see the threaded hole down in there. So you feed your wire in, put that in, hold it all together, and get your screws started. Make sure everything's good to go. Screws tightened in, cables plugged in the right way. You got the correct side. This is where it's gonna go. It's gonna sit right there. So we'll slide this up, put it over there. You can see that's where it's gonna hit. And that's ready to go. Now that we got both sides ready to go, we'll go ahead and bring the bike down, get the fairing mounted, make sure everything's good, and then we'll make sure these are positioned right depending on how the fairing sits. And then once the fairing's on and in place and sits like it's supposed to, then we'll tighten these guys up and secure them so we don't have to worry about it till next time. So, all right, so now we got these mounted, we got the lights mounted, we've got the bar installed, we got the bike secured, dropped it down. So now we're gonna put the front fairing back on and get it secured down to make sure it sits like it's supposed to, and then we'll tighten these up to match that, so that way it doesn't bow out of the way or anything like that. So let's get the fairing on. First thing, we're going to connect our headlight again. So that's in there. And then we'll slide this up into place. Make sure everything lines up. Like that. And I'm going to put, just like I did before, I'm going to start a couple screws here to hold this in place just so it doesn't fall on me. Just like that. Just gonna get everything kind of started and then we'll align it. So those are all in nice and tight. Everything looks good. So now, other than the windscreen, but I think we can go down and now tighten up the bottom ones because we have this fitted. And there's a little stopper that this hits. See, it flex out and goes in, so we're just gonna push it right up against that and tighten them up equally. Nice and secure, gives that fairing some great support. Same on the other side. All right, now that's all done. Now what we'll do is we'll put our main fuse back in and then we'll fire the bike up and check the lights and the signals and make sure everything works. All right, now we got that plugged in. Let's go ahead and turn everything on. Everything looks good. All right, well that about wraps it up. Pretty easy install for the most part. Let me just sit myself right here. It looks really good. I like the crash bar on it. And the turn signal relocations, because I have the forward controls, that's why I had to use that type of a crash bar instead of a bar. Plus I really don't like the way the bars look. I like more of a complete thing. But pretty easy. I'll list all the parts down in there. Hope you find it useful. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I've been loving the feedback you guys have been giving because, you know, I did say, if you like it or you don't like it, either way is fine. Let me know why. Then that way I can improve my videos or make sure I'm sharing information that you want. Other thing I wanted to bring up, finally got my Just Killing Bugs merchandise. There's a link in the description. Also in the top part of my page in the banner by the Instagram logo, there's also a link to Redbubble where I have it there. Got some hats, got some stickers, got some cool shirts, some other fun items and stuff like that, magnets. So if you see something you like, by all means, feel free to purchase it. I'd appreciate that. Help me support the channel and keep doing the stuff that I'm doing. And hopefully everything was good for you. So appreciate it. Everyone be safe, take care, be good humans, and we'll see you on the next one.